5:30, we continue to follow that breaking news. Mark Ray Leonard found guilty on all charges, including murder and arson in the Richmond Hill explosion. But there will still be legal maneuvers in this case. Rafael Sanchez has been leading our team coverage all day long, and he joins us live in South Bend. Rafael.
Todd, good evening. Lawyers for Mark Ray Leonard already said today that they plan to appeal his conviction. And I could tell during the trial that they were already laying the groundwork for legal challenges. Mark Ray Leonard was looking for a possible way to stop his murder and arson trial. His legal team attempted to delay the trial 5 days in on June the 15th. They were concerned with the pending testimony of a witness who reported an error in his natural gas report, which he fixed. The judge said no delay and no to a motion for mistrial on that same issue. Leonard's lawyers would call for several other mistrials that went nowhere. And they raised questions over a video demonstration from Citizens Energy Group showing how much natural gas it would take to set a home on fire. Leonard's legal team also expressed outrage over Monserrate Shirley's testimony, in which she claimed her ex-lover tampered with a gas line inside the home at 8349 Fieldfair Way. They say she only mentioned that after she cut a deal with the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. And you can bet that all of those challenges mentioned in the courtroom behind me here will probably show up in some sort of legal briefing at some point. The attorneys have not given us a schedule as to when they will file an appeal with the Court of Appeals of Indiana. But Todd, it'll be coming soon. I can bet that. Now back to you.
Rafael, when I saw that the jury came back so quickly after only hours today, my first thought was they likely found him guilty. My second thought was, could this be another basis for appeal? The fact that they came back so quickly, despite the 89 pages of jury instructions they had to read through and the charges.
Yeah, Todd, you saw those 89 pages, quite a list with instructions for the jurors. Of course, the attorneys for Mark Ray Leonard will look at all their avenues to make sure that all the rules were followed. If they find that something was not per the way, decorum, per the way it should have been done, they will more than likely appeal. But as you just saw from my story, they did file for a motion for mistrial at least 3 times. And on those points, they will more than likely go to those judges, I should say, with the Court of Appeals and say, hey, we want to do over. Now, whether or not the court says that, we'll have to wait and see. This could be years in the making with these appeals. Live in South Bend, Rafael Sanchez. Now back to you.
All right, nice work up there, Rafael. Thanks.
We welcome in now Carl Brizzi, former Marion County prosecutor. And let's just talk about the speed. Wow. I mean, 3 hours. You know, the jury returned this verdict very quickly. What's that mean?
Well, so much evidence, so many exhibits, so much time spent listening to the evidence in the courtroom, almost 6 weeks.
Right.
So when you're sitting there as the lawyers, whether you're the prosecutor or the state, a super quick verdict like this one means either one of two things. One, innocent on all counts, or guilty on all counts. Usually in that kind of time, there's no compromise.
As a former prosecutor, did that surprise you that it was just 3 hours?
I think we said yesterday it's going to either be really quick or it could be a couple of days where they're actually sifting through the different counts and trying to compromise on which ones he was going to be found guilty of and which ones he wasn't.
When a verdict comes back that fast, what's that tell you about what actually happened in the room with the jurors?
Well, what it tells me about what happened in the courtroom is it was a rout. The state owned it. They never didn't own it. And the defense did what they could, but they didn't have the facts and they didn't have the law on their side. And I think maybe what happened in that jury room was they had spent so much time on this case that they went in there, the foreman took control, took a show of hands and said, does anybody not think this defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of all 53 counts? No? Let's get to work.
You were talking about it probably took longer to fill out the paperwork for the 53 counts than actually reaching the verdict.
Sure. When you think about the time it took to maybe get a cup of coffee, talk about their, you know, how what happens, talk about your day for a minute, and then actually have to fill out all 53 pieces of paper, that probably took a couple hours.
The defense in this case showed very little evidence. Do you think that was strategy?
You know, to be fair to the defense, they had a really tough case, and I think they did a lot of things in the beginning to maybe set this up to protect their client on appeal for appellate review. They had several motions for mistrial, which the judge took under advisement but ultimately denied. But at the end of the day, look, the defense even admitted that Leonard started the fire. They just said that maybe he didn't mean to cause the damage that he did. that's not good enough. All the state had to show was that he reasonably should have known that those things could have happened.
All right, Carl Brizzi, former Marion County prosecutor, thank you so much for joining us.